Hello and welcome everyone to our latest journal review on effect of intermediate dose versus standard dose prophylactic anticoagulation on thrombotic events, ECMO treatment and mortality among patients with COVID-19 admitted to the intensive care unit. The Inspiration RCT published in JAMA last week. A 2020 systematic review estimated that 28% of the critically ill patients with COVID-19 had VTE. COVID-19 is associated with endothelial injury and prothrombotic milieu. Limited trials have evaluated the impact of anticoagulants on outcome in COVID-19 patients. Thus, the authors, with an objective to investigate the effect of intermediate dose versus standard dose prophylactic anticoagulation in patients with COVID-19 admitted to the ICU, did this particular study. The methods: it was an open label RCT with a 2 by 2 factorial design. The other aspect dealing with the role of statin in COVID-19, and it was done in Iran with 10 enrolled centers in Tehran and Tabriz. Patient recruited for the second, that is a statin hypothesis, is still underway, and this particular study deals only with the anticoagulation part. The trial population for this study, the trial inclusion was adult patients with PCR confirmed COVID-19 admitted to ICU within 7 days who do not have another firm indication for anticoagulation and who are not enrolled in another RCT. And the estimated survival must be at least 24 hours, and it would be at the discretion of the enrolled physician. Exclusion criteria: weight less than 40, use of systemic anticoagulation for other reasons like ECMO, mechanical valves, etc., overt bleeding, known major bleeding since last 30 days, platelet count less than 50, pregnancy, history of heparin-induced thrombocytopenia and other hypercoagulable and bleeding conditions. Randomization. Randomization was done using an electronic web-based system with permitted blocks of 4 and allocation sequence concealment. Eligible patients were allocated in a 1:1 ratio. The primary anticoagulant agent in both groups was enoxaparin. Unfractionated heparin was used in case of severe kidney insufficiency. For patients who weighed less than 120 and had a creatinine clearance greater than 30, enoxaparin 1 mg per kg was assigned for intermediate dose anticoagulation, and 40 mg was given as a standard dose in the control group. The predefined modifications were based on body weight and creatinine clearance. This was to be done in both the groups. The assigned treatment was planned to be continued until 30 days follow-up, irrespective of hospital discharge status. Now, the primary outcome. It was a composite of the acute VTE, arterial thrombosis, treatment with ECMO, or all-cause mortality within 30 days of enrollment. The secondary outcomes were all-cause mortality, VTE, and ventilator-free days. So, in this particular study, they assessed 1692 patients. Out of this, almost 1000 patients were excluded. So please keep in mind that a lot of patients got excluded. The study population included very few patients. Out of 902 did not meet the eligibility criteria. So they included only 600 patients who could be randomized. Out of these patients, 296 unique participants randomized to the intermediate group and 294 to the standard group. Out of this, 15 withdrew the consent in the intermediate group and 8 withdrew consent in the standard group. So if you come into the baseline characteristics, there was not much difference between the two groups. The age was around 60. Men were more, around 58. The body mass index was around 26. Smoker were around 10% of the patients. Most of the patients were hypertensive, diabetic, hyperlipidemic. The duration of symptoms were similar, and duration of hospitalization before randomization was similar. Coming to the organ support, especially the oxygen support, Nasal cannula was around 5%, face mask 10%, reservoir mask again a huge majority, one third of the patients. High flow cannula only 2%. NIV again a huge majority, one third patients, and one fifth were on invasive mechanical ventilation. Now aspirin, around 30% of the patients were already receiving that. Antiplatelets like clopidogrel was in around 2%. Co-treatment, again an important factor. Remdesivir was given to almost 60%, other antivirals around 80%. Corticosteroid, very important, 90% of the patients were receiving corticosteroid. Tocilizumab around 12 to 14%. So if you look at the primary outcome, it was roughly equal in both the groups. But you must keep in mind, see, there is a huge difference in the confidence interval, which is crossing 1, which means that the conclusion cannot be made properly as to which side the thing is going. There can be harm and there may be benefit also. And it is a big range. So if you look individually into the outcomes, mortality was around 40%, similar. VTE incidence was similar, around 3%. Ventilator free days was again similar. Now, if we look at the other exploratory outcomes and safety parameters, it is almost similar in both the groups. There is not much difference between them. So finally, if we look at the Kaplan-Meier curve, there is no difference between the two groups with a hazard ratio of 0.61. So the author's conclusion was that among patients admitted to ICU with COVID-19, intermediate dose prophylactic anticoagulation compared with standard dose prophylactic anticoagulation did not result in significant difference in primary outcome of the composite which we had taken at day 30. So they recommend that this result do not support the routine empirical use of intermediate dose prophylactic anticoagulation in unselected patients admitted to ICU with COVID-19, which means that we cannot give this treatment to all patients of COVID-19 who are getting admitted to the ICU. But this study has certain limitations. We'll look into them. The sickest of the patients were excluded. The patients who were on ECMO and patients who were sick and we may have died within 24 hours were excluded, which is reflected in the exclusion criteria and which is reflected in the patients who were ultimately recruited. Almost 900 patients were excluded because they did not meet the criteria. Next is open label. The physicians were able to know which patient is receiving which treatment, so it could have biased the data collection because the outcomes were mostly clinical and there was no such investigation done which was objective. So most of the findings were subjective and based on clinicians' interpretations. So this can affect the result. Next is co-medication, especially the use of steroids. Steroids could have affected the outcome because 90% of them did receive the treatment and they could have reduced the incidence of venous thromboembolism or the endothelitis. Next is the confidence interval, as we had noted, is very high. Finally, the only clinical outcome of thrombosis was used, which was again, as I said, it was not a screening or anything was done daily basis to find the thrombosis. It was based on totally the clinician's judgment and it was a primary outcome. So this was a major limitation of the trial. Only 4 patients were more than 120 kgs, so which means that this study cannot be interpreted and cannot be used to justify the treatment is what is to be given to patients who weigh more than 120 kgs. Finally, the most important thing is the dosing that was used. With a 1 milligram per kg dosing, the dose that they gave was not much different from the 40 which the patient was receiving already in the standard dose. So taking the average weight of around 60 to 70, there is not much difference between the two groups. If we look at the treatment part says that there should be 1 milligram per kg BD dosing, which means that almost double this dose has to be given. So if the dose difference was high, then maybe we could have seen some difference between the two groups. Now coming to the take-home message, the study has various limitations, especially the last one, which is that the dosing difference wasn't too much, and expecting that there will be a difference based on only 20 milligrams difference of a drug is very difficult to interpret clinically. So unless we find some serious harm with the use of this therapy, and we do not find any problem like bleeding which will occur in this particular dosing regimen, and since the dosing regimen that we use in our ICU is the treatment dose, that is 1 milligram BD dosing, that is the reason we cannot change our practice based on this particular study. Maybe a dose difference which would have been a little bit more, and if then we find no difference in mortality, we can change our practice, or if we find some harm of giving the higher doses of anticoagulation. Thank you for your patience, and check our website for further information.